Pranams to everyone. This is part 5 of the series of videos on the books that inspired me. In the previous parts, part 1, 2, 3, 4, we have roughly covered about 32 books, close to. In this video, part 5, we will take up some more books and take a look at that. So, the first one for this video. Yoga, Light on Yoga, and another book, Light on Pranayama. This is the first book, Yoga and Light on Yoga, which I took, which came into my hands, when I had this deep desire to learn and do yoga several years ago, 42 plus years ago, when I was in college, UG first year. So I had this desire to do yoga, learn yoga, and make yoga as part of my life. Someone suggested this book to me. I read this book and started practicing. Of course, later on I met a yoga teacher who taught me, and that's how, I took up yoga. Yoga came into my life, and it's me. Yoga and me are inseparable. So that's when my journey began, the journey of yoga, with this book, Light on Yoga by B.K.S. Iyengar. B.K.S. Iyengar was a student, a disciple of Mysore T. Krishnamacharya, a legend of yoga, because of whom yoga became popular all over the country during British times several years ago, and became popular across the world. So B.K.S. Iyengar was a student of Mysore Krishnamacharya. And in this book, he, so many asanas, kriyas and so on, So simple asanas, difficult asanas, and the photographs of that, the asanas in that book, very clear, precise, and his explanation point by point, starting position, movement and so on, it's beautiful, very educating. So Light on Yoga and Light on Pranayama. Everything about pranayama, right from the basics till the final aspects of pranayama. So these two books inspired me a great deal, which was instrumental, one of the reasons to make me a yoga teacher. Of course, I would even say even earlier than that, my own uncle, Professor Krishnadas, he was the man who initiated me into pranayama. That was even before the college life. So I began, and of course, something went wrong with my practice. I had some health problems, physical problems and so on. And then that's how the journey began. So I would even say my first yoga teacher in this aspect would be Professor Krishnadas. We call him affectionately Daseta. So he was the man who inspired me, who put the seeds of yoga in me. So after that, I came into this book, went through the book, learnt all those asanas and started practicing there. So light on yoga and light on pranayama. Very inspiring. The next one. Many of you must have, I'm sure, must have heard about this book, must have read this book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach. You know, many years ago, after graduation, I got into a pharmaceutical company, and for training they sent me to Bombay, those days Bombay, and 15-20 days training. And at the end of the training, you know, each one was asked to give a talk, and I also did that, and all of them liked my talk, and I was awarded a prize, the first prize for the best talk. And so they gave me this book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, as the prize for the best talk. Of course, I took that prize, put it in my shelf, and forgot. Later on, some years later, I happened to pick up this book, read this book, flat, small book, and many of the pages, you know, contain photos and pictures of the seagull, the birds, and so on. Very lovely the way Richard Bach has written that book. It's beautiful. How an ordinary seagull becomes a master, an awakened being, a messiah. Beautiful book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. It has come as a movie also. And you know, Richard Bach has written many other books. Illusions is another one, which inspired me a great deal. So Jonathan Livingston Seagull and Illusions. Of course, he has written other books, One, you know, and so on and so on and so on. Fantastic books, worth reading at least once. The next one. The Tao of Physics, Fritjof, Capra. You know, it's all about the new physics, quantum physics, maybe you can say metaphysics. And Fritjof Capra draws parallel with Vedanta, with Indian spirituality from India. Fantastic book, well written. You know, he has taken examples from the Nataraja statue. Amazing book. And the next one, Gary Zukov's Dancing Woolly Masters. Another, you know, book similar to Tao of Physics, which talks about the new physics, the quantum mechanics. I mean, you know, it's little technical, but then the words, they flow like a you know, a novel, a beautiful work. So those who are interested in this kind of subjects, they will love these two books. One of the first books to come out of the Western world, drawing parallels from Indian culture, the Indian rishis and sages, Indian culture and tradition and so on. Beautiful book, Tao of Physics and the Dancing Woolly Masters. Beautiful books. The next one. Carl Gustav Jung. Memories, Dreams and Reflections. You know, Carl Gustav Jung was one of the most brilliant students of Sigmund Freud. He broke away from Sigmund Freud because he did not agree with many of Freud's ideas about the human mind, about the human psyche and so on. He broke away. And if you read Jung's works, it's all about psychology and the human mind. He has come close to Indian mysticism, Indian psychology. One of the few Westerners to come towards India. In fact, he did come to India during Bhagavan Ramana's life. He had heard about Ramana, but somehow, for some reason, he did not meet Ramana when he came to India. Because somebody asked him, there's this great Rishi, why don't you go and meet him? He said, he very nicely, said no, because if I meet him, I may never leave this country. I may never want to go out of this country. So, I don't want that to happen. And so he went back. That was one very unfortunate thing that happened in his life. But otherwise, he was a brilliant psychologist. One of the few, health psychologists we call, like Abraham Maslow, Carl Gustav Jung. He, towards the end of his life, he has so many spiritual experiences, near-death experiences. Amazing man. Fully, evolved and very mature and experienced, very knowledgeable psychologist from the West. So, the next one. Light of Asia by Edwin Arnold. Light of Asia is the book about the great Gautama Buddha, his life and times and teachings and so on. It's actually a poem, but looks like a prose also. Very well written. Right from Buddha's birth, childhood, his marriage, leaving home, all that he has covered, beautifully covered in poetical language. So, The Light of Asia by Edwin Arnold, another book that touched me deeply. The next one. This book is amazing. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Now, Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor once upon a time. A philosopher emperor who was not interested in warfare, administration. Of course, he was a very good king, excellent administrator, but he was more interested in life, in the universe, in philosophy, in spirituality. And this book, Meditations, that's the title of this book, point by point by point, about everything that a human being goes through. Beautiful, reading. Maybe when I take up a book review of each of these books, I will go more into detail the contents of this book. It's beautiful. Lovely reading. Another book that inspired me a great deal. And many of the points from Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, I've taken it and put it in my book, Beyond Personality, Collected Works on Self-Awareness and Personal Growth. So, that is another book that went deep into my heart. The next one, and maybe the last book for this video. At Last Shrugged. And then another book, The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. Fantastic books. I mean, the way she has written, the beautiful language, the story itself, genius, creativity, excellence, originality. How an ordinary man becomes, I mean, of course, he was genius right from the beginning. That started exploding from him, and he transforms the whole world. You know, initially in the book, somewhere, it starts with, who is John Galt? People, during the conversation, when something goes beyond their understanding, somebody will say, who is John Galt? And later on, towards the end of the book, people come to know who is John Galt. Genius. Transforms the whole world. A completely different world he creates. And takes like-minded people, creative geniuses from across the world to his new civilization. At last shrugged. In fact, literally he shrugs the world. And it has come as a movie also. Very interesting reading. And similarly, The Fountainhead. Very well written. It's another, story. It's like At Last Shrugged. It goes into each character's life. Very well written. I mean, it's worth reading all these books. So At Last Shrugged, The Fountainhead, Ayn Rand. These books inspired me so much. So worth reading. So with this, we come to the end of part 5 of the videos on the books that inspired me. In the next part, we will take up some more books, and as I told you in the previous video, I am just introducing these books to you all so that you can get to know them. Maybe in the future, buy them, procure them, get those books and start reading, at least some of them. So this is just an introduction, show you the books, that's it. Later on, when I take up the book review, I will go into selected some of these books, some of these works, and we do a study on that. That is later. So with this, we come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching and listening. Pranams.